Okay, so I want to make sure that when I solve this inequality, it's the same thing like when you're doing two-step equations. You have to do the same thing to either side. Okay, and so I'm going to kind of put this line through here. So I'm going to kind of use a different color to show what I'm doing to each side. So right here I have negative 9x minus 7. So I'm going to do a plus 7 on both sides. That way, whatever I'm doing to one side, I have to do to the other. Okay, that's going to cancel out. And a positive 20 and a positive 7, so that's 27. And then negative 9x. I have negative 9x is greater than 27. So that's saying negative 9 times x. Well, how do I get rid of it? If I'm multiplying by the x, I need to divide. So I'm going to divide by negative 9, both sides. Now, here's the important thing. I just divided by a negative. If I multiply or divide by a negative, what happens to that inequality sign? It flips. I'm going to flip it because I multiplied or divided by a negative. Okay, so now I have negative 9 divided by negative 9 is 1, so that's just x is less than 27 divided by negative 9 is negative 3. So x is less than negative 3. Okay, I'm going to do another problem. I'm going to make it a little bit harder. Okay, negative 6x over 9 is greater than 4. Okay, I can do this a couple of different ways. I can think of this as negative 6/9 x, and I can multiply by 9/6, negative 9/6. Or I can multiply both sides by 9. I think where we are in this process, I'm going to have us multiply both sides by 9 first. So I can multiply both sides by 9, like 9 over 1, which would cancel that, and multiply that by 9. So that's going to leave me with negative 6x is greater than 36. Okay, now I need to get rid of that negative 6. So that's saying negative 6 times x. So that means I'm going to divide both sides by negative 6. But what happens if I multiply or divide by a negative? I flip my sign, right? So it's going to flip over. I'm going to flip that inequality sign. So now this is going to just be x is less than 36 divided by negative 6 would be negative 6. So x is less than negative 6. Okay, we could have gone about it a different way, but I don't want to confuse this too much right now. So I'm not going to do that right now, but we could have done it a little bit differently. Okay, I'm going to do another problem though. I'm going to do 10x minus 12 is less than or equal to 8. Okay, so I'm going to just kind of help if you'd see it, draw this line. So I need to get rid of that minus 12. So I'm going to add 12 to both sides. Before I even cross that out, I'm going to write it on both sides. And then I'm going to draw a line to kind of show it all the way across. Okay, this cancels out. Okay, because that just makes 10x plus 0. I don't need the 0, right? I could write 10x plus 0, but that plus 0 is nothing. Okay, I don't need that, so I can just kind of skip that step. I don't need to write the plus 0, it's just gone. Okay, and then I had an 8 plus 12, so that's 20. So now I'm saying 10 times my x is less than or equal to 20. So since that's saying 10 times x, I'm going to do the opposite, which would be divide. So I'm going to divide both sides by 10. Now, I did not divide by a negative, so I do not flip my sign. My sign still stays the same because I did not multiply or divide by a negative. That crossed out. That became x is less than or equal to 2. Okay. Now this next one I'm going to do, negative x over 5 plus 11 is greater than or equal to 7. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of this 11 by subtracting 11 on both sides. Okay, forgot to draw this little line here. Okay, so when I did that, that crossed out 7 and a negative 11. Okay, different signs, so that's 11 minus 7, and that's 4, but it's a negative 4, right? So now I'm left with negative x over 5 is greater than or equal to negative 4. Well, I need to get rid of that, so I'm saying a negative x divided by 5. Well, to get rid of divided by 5, I'm going to multiply by 5. But I'm going to go ahead and multiply by negative 5 to get rid of that negative. Okay, because that negative is this whole thing. So I can say times negative 5 over 1 times negative 5. Okay, that cancels that out. But what did I just multiply by? A negative. So what happens to that sign? I flip it. Okay, so now I'm going to be left with x is less than or equal to negative 4 times negative 5 makes a positive 20. Okay, we're going to do another one. Negative 3x over 2 is less than 18. Okay, I'm not going to have us multiply by the reciprocal of 3/2. We could, but I'm just not, I don't want to go too fast yet. So I'll go one step at a time. I'm saying negative 3x divided by 2. So what I could do is say, hey, let's multiply it by 2. Okay, if I multiply both sides by 2, okay, that's going to get me negative 3x is less than 36. So now what am I going to do? It says negative 3 times x. So if I'm multiplying by x, to get rid of it, I'm going to divide by the negative 3. And I have to do that on both sides, right? So negative 3 divided by negative 3 is just 1, so it's x. Uh-oh, what happened? I divided by a negative. If I divided by a negative, I flip that sign. And then 36 divided by negative 3, it's going to be a negative 12. Now I'm going to show you something, and I hope this does not confuse you. I'm going to do the same problem, but I'm going to go about it a different way. If I said negative 3x over 2, okay, that is like saying that negative 3x over 2 is the same thing as saying negative 3 over 2x, okay? So what I could do is, since that's like a fraction, I could essentially multiply the whole thing by negative 2/3, because that will cancel that out and I'll be just left with x. So if I multiply that by negative 2/3, I have to multiply this by negative 2/3. Okay. Oh, I multiplied by a negative, so I need to flip the sign. Okay. This cancels out because negative 2 times negative 3 is 6. 3 times 2 is 6. 6 over 6 is 1, so I'm just left with x. And then to do over this, put the 1 underneath it. Can I cancel anything? Yes. That could be 1, and that'd be 6. So that's going to be 6 times negative 2, so that's going to be negative 12. Okay, so I got the same answer. Both of them I got x is greater than negative 12, but one of them I took it into 2 steps where I divided it by, I multiplied it by 2 and then divided it by 3. And here I did it all in one step just by multiplying by the reciprocal. Okay, either way will work. It's just whichever one you feel more comfortable with.